Hello everyone, my name is Giller, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to safespot in PvP and DMM mode. The concept of safespotting is that when you freeze an opponent, you stand in such a specific square that you can attack your opponent, but they cannot attack you back. To learn this, we're going to have to understand two concepts. Concept number one being objects. This oak tree right here is an object. It's a 3x3. Now, to build a safespot, we're going to have to imagine this oak tree is not just a tree, but it's a full-on tower, or a full block of 9 squares. Now, the second concept we're going to have to understand is line of sight, which means what can our character see and what can't it see. You should imagine if this tree were to be a full block or a full tower, logically speaking, we cannot view our opponent right now, because our vision gets blocked. And I can show it with some visual aid of line of sight. Every square marked purple is where our character can actually see. As you can see, even if we stand here, we cannot see our opponent, because this square, even though it's just a little branch, if we imagine this being a full block, we cannot see past it. But if we were to move more to the side, we can see our line of sight increases. And if we can stand here, you can see we can just squeak past the vision diagonally. And we are here on the other account. And as you can imagine, if this were to be a full block, you can already see that currently we should not be able to see past the tree. And I can show this with the visual aid of line of sight that this is true. Currently our vision gets blocked by the tree. If you move this way, our vision gets slightly increased, and this way we can view all the way. As you can already imagine, this creates a difference. From this perspective, we cannot see past the tree, but from the perspective of the other account, we in fact can see past the tree. And this is true because if I follow my opponent, it will show me all the safe spots. And there it is, marked in red. This currently is a safe spot. I can view the opponent and he cannot view me. Now, in a PvP situation, how to actually do this? It's very simple, and you're going to have to follow a rule of thumb. So what we're going to have to do is, I'm going to position my account over there. The rule of thumb is, obviously, first you freeze your opponent, then you search for an object, then you position yourself on the exact opposite side of the object. Then you're going to have to look for line of sight. So, if we move this way, we can still not see past the tree. This is true, as I can show right here. But from here, I can just diagonally see past this tree. And this would be a safe spot. Because we are on opposite sides of the tree, it creates a one diagonal line difference in view. And I can show this is a correct safe spot by following my opponent. It will mark the safe spot tiles in red. As you can see, this diagonal line is my safe spot. So here we have both accounts side by side. Now, this account is safe spotting this account, and we can see that my line of sight is currently correct. I can currently view the opponent. And from this account, you can see the line of sight gets broken by the corner of this tree. So there's always a one diagonal square difference if you're on opposite side of an object. This is true for any object. As long as you're on opposite sides, there'll be a one diagonal square difference. And of course, this works both ways. So on the first account, if I currently move one square to the other side, this will mean that I have the diagonal advantage. I can currently just squeak past vision across this leaf tree, but as you can see on the other account, that account cannot. So, if we follow this account, so here to show the safe spots, we can see that this is true. That this diagonal line for this account is the safe spot. So it's always a diagonal line of safe spotting when you're on opposite sides of a object. So once again, the logic behind it is that whenever you're on opposite sides of an object, the difference will always be one diagonal line. And you can have the advantage if you're the one being the one positioning yourself. So let's assume that I have frozen this account right here. We then position yourself on the other side of the object and then look for line of sight. Right now, no line of sight, no line of sight, but from here we do have line of sight. As you can see with this visual repetition right here, we currently have line of sight. And I didn't even need this visual aid to help me, because I can just imagine if this tree is a giant box, I can see my character should be able to see past it. If I quickly follow this account, you can see that in fact this was a safe spot. And I figured it out without needing the visual aid. Obviously I turned it on later to show you guys. But I knew this would be a safe spot because I am on the opposite side of an object and I just have line of sight. Just barely. And that creates an advantage. And once again, the accounts side by side, we can see this is true because account number 2 currently has vision of account number 1, but account number 1 does not have vision of account number 2, because you can see once again, because we're on opposite sides of an object, there's a 1 diagonal line difference. And this will be true for any object in every situation. So once again, to safe spot someone, you freeze them, then look for the opposite side of an object and position yourself just in their line of sight, and you will always have the 1 diagonal line difference that will create a safe spot in your advantage. So here I am in Paint to show the final concept. That is that there's always a 1 diagonal line difference between the perspective of each account. We can easily see that if we look at account number 1, you can see that account number 1 can see past the tree currently, but it cannot look behind the tree currently. And the same will be true for the other account, except the other way around. So the account number 2 can currently not see this way, so it cannot see behind the tree, but it can just see past the tree. And that is because they're on opposite sides of the object. There's always a 1 diagonal line difference. If you put yourself just barely in line of sight of the enemy, this line of sight difference will always be in your advantage, creating a safe spot for you. Alright, so here I am. I'll be doing this in a PvP situation. So first I barrage my target, and then I go on the opposite side of the object. And as you can see already, that I can currently freeze my opponent, and if he wants to freeze me back, there we go. I can currently freely barrage him, but he cannot barrage me. And I just stand on the opposite side of the object and give myself direct line of sight. And I can show this, that if I turn on my line of sight, I can currently just view past this tree. If I stand here, my line of sight gets broken. If I stand even more this way, line of sight gets slightly broken as well. And I could also stand this way. So this way I can peek over the tree as well. And from here on out, I can safely attack my opponent and he gets dragged. So in this case, if we freeze him here, I can look for line of sight with the object by standing on the opposite side and then seeing where I can get line of sight, which is right here. And from here on out, I can freeze my opponent and he cannot freeze me back, which creates a safe spot. So once again, I follow the rule of thumb. I put myself on the opposite side of an object, and then I can freely attack him without him being able to see me.